Shackled hearts, Vikram Malhotra adjusted his silk tie, staring blankly at his reflection in the bedroom mirror. Behind him, Priya moved silently, a ghost in her own home, arranging flowers in a crystal vase. 5 years of marriage, and they had perfected the choreography of avoiding each other in their spacious Delhi apartment. "The Singanayas will be here at 7, he said, not bothering to turn around. "Rajesh is bringing the contract proposals." Priya nodded, though he wasn't looking. "Dinner is arranged. I've told Lakshmi to prepare Rajesh's favorites." This was their relationship, functional, dutiful, and hollow. Their marriage certificate hung framed in the hallway, next to portraits of stern-faced parents who had orchestrated the union of two prestigious families. The tech empire of the Malhotras merging with the pharmaceutical wealth of the Mehtas. Vikram left early for the office, as always. In the back of his Mercedes, he scrolled through emails, trying to ignore the familiar emptiness. At 35, he had everything society deemed successful, the thriving company he'd expanded beyond his father's vision, the elegant wife from a good family, the address in the most exclusive neighborhood. Yet happiness remained a stranger at Malhotra Technologies. Vikram buried himself in meetings until his assistant Deepak interrupted with a reminder. "Sir, it's nearly 6, your dinner guests." "I know," Vikram snapped, then sighed. No, sorry. I'll leave now." Across town, Priya meticulously supervised the dinner preparations. At 32, she moved with practiced grace, her emerald silk sari draped perfectly, her smile rehearsed to professional standards. No one would guess that beneath her composed exterior lay a woman drowning. "Sayeb, should I place fresh towels?" "In the guest bathroom?" Lakshmi, their housekeeper, asked. "Yes, and make sure the temperature stays comfortable. Mr. Singhania complains when it's too warm." Priya checked her watch. 50 minutes until the guests arrived, 40 until Vikram would return. Her schedule allowed 15 minutes in the bathroom, alone. She locked the door, opened the hidden compartment in her vanity drawer, and removed a small case of medication. With practiced hands, she administered her injection, then sat on the edge of the bathtub, waiting for the dizziness to pass. The doorbell rang precisely at 7. Vikram and Priya performed their roles flawlessly, the successful businessman and his charming wife. Shanaya, an older man with calculating eyes, brought his wife Kiran and their son Aditya. "Priya, the food is exceptional," Kiran commented. "You must share your secrets." Priya smiled. "I merely instructed the cook. I'm afraid I have little talent in the kitchen myself." "A modern woman," Rajesh said with a tight smile. "Though my..." Kiran still believes a wife should know how to feed her husband properly. Vikram noticed Priya's hand tremble slightly as she reached for her water glass. "My wife's talents lie elsewhere. Her charity foundation raised 10 million rupees last quarter." The conversation shifted to business, and Priya retreated into silence. Vikram discussed expansion plans and contract details, occasionally glancing at his wife. Something seemed off, her face paler than usual, her normally perfect posture slightly stooped. After the Singhanayas left, the facade dropped. Vikram loosened his tie, pouring himself a whiskey. "You seemed unwell tonight," he said, surprising himself with the observation. Priya paused, her back to him as she arranged discarded napkins. "Just tired. The foundation event yesterday was draining. He wanted to press further, but didn't know how." Their relationship had no framework for genuine concern. "The deal with Singhania will go through next week. Father will be pleased." "Congratulations," she said mechanically. They moved around each other like planets in distant orbits, never colliding, never connecting. As Priya headed toward their separate bedrooms, Vikram caught a glimpse of something in her eyes, not just weariness, but a deep, haunting fear. For a moment he nearly reached out. Instead, he finished his whiskey and turned away, each retreating to their private cells. In the prison they called marriage. Part 2. Whispers behind walls. The first peculiarity Vikram noticed was the missed dinner at the Sharmas. Priya, who never failed in social obligations, had texted him 20 minutes before they were due to arrive, claiming a sudden migraine. Second oddity came 3 days later when he returned unexpectedly from a cancelled meeting to find Lakshmi packing away medical supplies in the guest bathroom. "Sir, "You're home early?" she stammered, quickly shutting the cabinet. "What's all that?" Vikram gestured to the cabinet. "Just some first aid supplies, sir. Sabe likes to keep everything well stocked." That night, he noticed Priya's carefully applied makeup couldn't quite conceal the dark circles under her eyes. When he mentioned the Sharma dinner, she smoothly changed the subject to his upcoming business trip to Singapore. "I've had Deepak arrange everything," she said. "Your presentation for the investors is printed in your briefcase." Vikram studied her across the dining table. "You seem to know my schedule better than I do. It's my job to make your life run smoothly." She offered a practiced smile that never reached her eyes. "Is that what you think marriage is? A job?" Question hung between them, unexpected and unwelcome. Priya's fork paused midway to her mouth. "Isn't that what you think too?" she finally replied. He had no answer. Their marriage had always been a business arrangement, beneficial to both families. Emotional fulfillment wasn't part of the contract. The following week, while Vikram was in Singapore, Deepak called with strange news. "Sir, there's something unusual in the company accounts." "What kind of unusual?" Vikram asked, staring out at the Singapore skyline from his hotel room. "Regular transfers to a specialist medical center. They're coming from your personal account, but I've never seen the authorization forms," Vikram frowned. "How much significant amounts, sir? For the past 3 years?" 3 years. The timing coincided with Priya's increased withdrawal, her declining participation in social events, the separate bedrooms. "Send me the details," he said. When he returned to Delhi, Vikram found himself watching Priya with new awareness. She spent hours on phone calls that ended abruptly when he entered the room. Twice weekly, she visited her charitable foundation but deflected when he asked about specific projects. Most tellingly, he discovered a hidden drawer in her vanity, filled with prescription medications he didn't recognize. "You've been watching me," Priya confronted him one evening as he lingered outside her bedroom door. "Why? Should I not be concerned when my wife is hiding something? We've lived separate lives for years, Vikram. Why the sudden interest?" He stepped closer. "Because something's wrong. You're unwell." "I'm fine," she insisted, but her hand trembled as she clutched the doorframe. "Then explain the medications, the doctor visits, the money." Priya's face paled. "You've been investigating me?" "I'm trying to understand what's happening in my own home." "Nothing is happening that concerns you." Her voice hardened. "Our arrangement has always been clear. You run your business and maintain our social standing. The details of my personal life aren't part of our agreement." The next morning, Vikram followed her. He watched from his car as she entered a nondescript building with specialized care clinic in small letters above the door. 2 hours later, she emerged, moving carefully, leaning slightly on a nurse's arm before straightening when she reached the street. That evening, he confronted her again. "Who is Dr. Sharma?" Priya froze. "How do you know that name? I saw you at his clinic today. What aren't you telling me? You followed me?" Her voice rose. "You had no right." "I've every right. I'm your husband." "Husband?" Laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call yourself? We're business partners at best, strangers sharing an address at worst." Vikram stepped back, stung by the truth in her words. "Whatever this is, it affects both of us." "It doesn't have to," she said quietly. "I've managed on my own for years, but why? Why keep secrets?" Priya looked at him with weary resignation. "Because you never wanted more than a presentable wife who wouldn't embarrass you at dinner parties. You never asked for the complicated parts of me. And I," her voice broke, "I never wanted to be a burden." Before he could respond, she swayed suddenly, her face draining of color.
"Akram?"
Reached for her instinctively as her knees buckled. "Priya." As he caught her falling body, he felt how light she had become, how fragile. Her skin burned with fever against his hands. From her purse fell a medical alert card with emergency instructions and Dr. Sharma's contact information. The world Vikram thought he understood crumbled as he called the number with shaking fingers, his wife unconscious in his arms, secrets unraveling around them like loose thread from a carefully woven fabric. The broken Fakadethi hospital corridor seemed endless, its sterile whiteness broken only by the occasional nurse hurrying past. Vikram sat rigidly in an uncomfortable chair outside the emergency room. His normally commanding presence reduced to that of a helpless bystander. For hours had passed since the ambulance had taken Priya away, her body frighteningly still on the stretcher. Mr. Malhotra looked up to see a woman in her 50s with salt and pepper hair and tired eyes behind rimless glasses. "I'm Dr. Sharma. We spoke on the phone." He stood quickly. "How is she? Stabilized for now?" The doctor gestured to a private consultation room. "We should talk." Inside, Dr. Sharma opened a thick medical file. "Your wife has been my patient for nearly 3 years, Mr. Malhotra. I'm surprised this is our first meeting." The implied criticism wasn't lost on him. "I didn't know. Clearly." She studied him with clinical detachment. "Priya has Wegener's granulomatosis, a rare autoimmune disorder, causes inflammation of blood vessels, affecting multiple organs in her case, primarily her lungs and kidneys." Vikram struggled to process this information. "Is it terminal?" "It's serious, but manageable with proper treatment. Priya has been on an aggressive regimen of immunosuppressants and steroids. The disease goes through periods of remission and flare-ups." Dr. Sharma paused. This current episode was triggered by extreme stress and physical exhaustion. Guilt washed over Vikram. The dinner party, his questions, the confrontation. "She never said anything," he murmured. She was quite adamant about keeping her condition private, particularly from you. Dr. Sharma's gaze was piercing. She didn't want to be, in her words, a liability to the Malhotra name. The words struck like physical blows. Priya had been fighting a battle alone, believing he would see her illness as a weakness, a flaw in their perfect facade. "When can I see her?" "She's resting now. But there's something else you should know." Dr. Sharma's expression softened slightly. "Priya's condition has complicated side effects. The medications cause significant weight fluctuation, skin problems, mood changes, and—" She hesitated. "It's almost certainly rendered her infertile." Vikram's mind flashed to the numerous family gatherings where relatives had questioned when they would produce an heir. The way Priya had deflected with graceful smiles while he had impatiently attributed their childlessness to her career ambitions or selfishness. "She's been protecting you from this knowledge," Dr. Sharma continued. "Protecting your family's expectations, at significant cost to her own health." "I need to see her," Vikram insisted, standing up. Dr. Sharma nodded. "Room 37. "But Mr. Malhotra, she's vulnerable right now. Choose your words carefully." Looked smaller than he'd ever seen her, surrounded by machines monitoring her vital signs. Her carefully maintained appearance was gone, no makeup, concealing her pallor, no elegant clothes hiding her thinness. An IV dripped medication into her arm. Her eyes opened as he approached, widening with surprise, and then something like shame. "Shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I'm exactly where I should be." He pulled a chair beside her bed. "Why didn't you tell me?" Priya looked away. What difference would it have made? "Our marriage was never about support or companionship." "That's not fair, isn't it?" Her voice strengthened slightly. "The Malhotras needed a healthy daughter-in-law to produce healthy heirs. The merger with my family's company required a presentable wife who could handle social obligations. I've failed at both." Vikram flinched at the brutal assessment. "Is that how you see me? So cold and calculating?" "It's how we've lived for 5 years. Separate lives under one roof." Her eyes met his, challenging. "Would you have married me if you'd known I was sick? If you'd known I couldn't give you children?" The question hung between them. In truth, he didn't know the answer. The young, ambitious man he'd been might well have chosen differently. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for not seeing what was happening. For not being someone you could trust with the truth." A nurse entered to check Priya's vitals, and the moment passed. When they were alone again, Vikram noticed photographs on the side table. Priya in hospital gowns with other patients, smiling genuinely in a way he rarely saw at home. "What are these?" "My foundation work," she said quietly, "to support group for chronic illness patients. We meet at Dr. Sharma's clinic." Understanding dawned. The mysterious appointments, the unexplained absences, she hadn't been hiding. Her illness just from him, but channeling her experience to help others. All this time I thought you were just fulfilling social obligations, he admitted. I never imagined you were fighting something like this. We're all fighting something. Vikram. Her voice was tired, but held no bitterness. I just got better at hiding my battles. In the stillness of the hospital room, surrounded by the evidence of Priya's secret struggle, the elaborate facade they'd built around their marriage finally crumbled completely. What remained was raw, uncomfortable, truth and, perhaps, Vikram thought as he gently took her hand, the first real chance they'd had to build something authentic from the ruins. Mending fragments the first week after Priya's discharge from the hospital unfolded in awkward new rhythms. Vikram had moved her things into the master bedroom. Despite her protests that her smaller room was better organized for her medical needs, he'd compromised by converting the adjacent dressing room into a miniature pharmacy. Meticulously labeled and arranged by Lakshmi under Dr. Sharma's guidance. You don't need to do this, Priya said one evening, watching him review the medication schedule he'd programmed into his phone. I've managed on my own for years. It's exactly the problem, he replied, without looking up. You shouldn't have. Had to? Their conversations remained stilted, weighed down by years of practiced distance and new, uncomfortable awareness. Vikram worked from home, canceling meetings and delegating responsibilities in a way that would have been unthinkable. Weeks earlier, Priya observed these changes with quiet confusion, uncertain how to navigate this unfamiliar version of her husband. On the 9th day, Vikram entered the bedroom to find Priya attempting to dress for an event, struggling with the heavy silk of a formal sari. What are you doing? He asked, alarmed at her pallor. The Kapoor Foundation dinner is tonight. We're expected to attend. She fumbled with the pleats, hands shaking slightly. We're not going, Priya. Looked up in genuine shock. But your father specifically mentioned, I've already called to send our regrets. Vikram approached, gently taking the fabric from her. Hands. Your health is more important than any social obligation. Something in his tone made her eyes fill with unexpected tears. The Malhotras never missed the Kapoor dinner. Your father will be furious. Let him be. Vikram hesitated, then added, softly, some things matter more. That evening, instead of networking with Delhi's elite, they sat awkwardly in the living room, neither knowing how to fill the unscheduled time together. Finally, Vikram broke the silence. Tell me about your foundation. The real work, not the public relations version. Priya studied him, searching for the catch in his question. Finding none, she began tentatively describing the support group she'd formed for young professionals with chronic illnesses. As she spoke, her voice grew stronger, more passionate than he'd ever heard it. Many of us hide our conditions because of workplace stigma or family expectations, she explained. We help each other navigate the medical system, manage career pressures, deal with the isolation. Is that how you felt? Isolated? The question slipped out before he could reconsider. Priya's gaze dropped to her hands. Yes, but it wasn't entirely. Your fault. I built those walls too. The admission hung between them, the first brick removed from the barricade they'd constructed. 2 weeks later, Vikram stood awkwardly at the back of a community center meeting room, watching Priya lead her support group. Here, she was transformed, confident, empathetic, occasionally even funny in a way he'd never witnessed at home. The members treated her with obvious respect, turning to her for guidance that had nothing to do with her family name or social position. Afterward, as they drove home, Vikram said, You're remarkable with them. They trust you. They know I understand their struggles, she replied. Not just the physical symptoms, but the masks we wear for the world. He glanced at her. Like the mask you wore for me. For everyone. The perfect Malhotra, daughter-in-law, doesn't get sick. Her bitter smile faded. Your mother once told me never to show weakness in this family. The mention of his mother, cold, impeccable Sunita Malhotra, made Vikram wince. My mother's definition of strength is deeply flawed. It's so different from yours? Priya challenged quietly. The question stung with its accuracy. Hadn't he always valued accomplishment over vulnerability? Practical results over emotional honesty? Their carefully reconstructed routine, fractured again when Priya developed a high fever one night. Vikram found himself holding her hair back. As she retched miserably into the toilet, her body shaking with the effort. "I hate this," she whispered. "I hate you seeing me like this." "I'm your husband," he said simply, offering a damp cloth for her forehead. "You didn't sign up for this. Neither did you." He helped her back to bed, but here we are. As the fever persisted, Vikram called Dr. Sharma against Priya's protests. Watching the doctor examine his wife, he realized how little he'd known about Priya's daily reality, the pain she hid, the exhaustion she powered through, the careful calculations behind every social appearance. "It's a common infection," Dr. Sharma explained. "Her immune system is compromised from the medications. We'll adjust the antibiotics." Later, as Priya slept fitfully, Vikram found himself scrolling through medical websites, learning terminology that had never been part of his vocabulary: autoantibodies, vasculitis, remission cycles. The business executive in him approached the challenge methodically, compiling information, identifying patterns, developing strategies. But at 3 a.m, when Priya whimpered in her sleep and he automatically reached to check her temperature, Vikram recognized this was no business problem to solve. This was his wife, the woman who had suffered silently beside him for years. Believing her illness made her unworthy of the Malhotra name. The realization came with a wave of shame so profound it left him breathless. How had he created a marriage where his wife believed her worth depended on her health? What kind of man had he become? When Priya opened her eyes, finding him still awake beside her, she seemed puzzled by his expression. "What's wrong?" she murmured. "Everything," he admitted. "But I'm going to try to make it right." For the first time in their 5-year marriage, he reached for her hand not as a social performance, but as a genuine promise. After a moment's hesitation, her fingers curled weakly around his, a fragile bridge across the chasm they had both helped create. Beyond expectations, autumn painted Delhi in golden hues as the city prepared for Diwali. 6 months had passed since Priya's hospitalization, 6 months of careful rebuilding, tentative truths, and the gradual dismantling of practiced defenses. In the garden of their home, Vikram supervised workers hanging lanterns for the small gathering they would host that evening. Through the French doors, he could see Priya speaking with Lakshmi, gesturing toward flower arrangements. She moved with more confidence now, her body stronger after months of consistent treatment and proper rest. "The south wall needs more lights," he called to one of the workers. "My wife wants it visible from the sitting room." The phrase "my wife" no longer felt like a formal designation, but carried a warmth that still surprised him. Their relationship had transformed not into the dramatic romance of films, but something more valuable. A partnership built on hard-earned understanding. The doorbell rang, announcing the first arrivals. Vikram straightened his kurta and went to greet Dr. Sharma and her husband. "Welcome to our home," he said, genuinely pleased to see the woman who had become more than just Priya's doctor. "The place looks beautiful," Dr. Sharma remarked, glancing around at the Diwali decorations. "How's our patient? Ask her yourself. She's been directing preparations since dawn, despite my objections." Dr. Sharma smiled knowingly. "Some battles aren't worth fighting." Inside, Priya embraced the doctor warmly. She wore a simple, silk sour kameez that complemented her still slender frame rather than trying to disguise it. The heavy makeup and elaborate hairstyles of previous years had given way to a more natural appearance. One of many small, authentic choices in their new reality. More guests arrived. Members of Priya's support group, colleagues from Vikram's company who had proven supportive during his recent restructuring of work priorities, and a few carefully selected family friends. Notably absent were Vikram's parents, who remained in London after the explosive confrontation 3 months earlier, when Vikram had finally revealed Priya's condition and his own role in her suffering. "Your father will come around," Priya had assured him afterward. "I don't care if he does," Vikram had responded with surprising vehemence. "I won't have him making you feel inferior for something beyond your control." The memory faded as Annika, a young woman from Priya's support group, approached them with her fiancés. "We have news," she announced nervously. "Rohit and I are moving the wedding forward. My latest scans show progression. And double quotes, she faltered. And we don't want to wait, Rohit finished, his arm protectively around her shoulders. Unpredictable. Priya squeezed Annika's hand. We'll help with everything, won't we, Vikram? Of course. He meant it sincerely, recognizing how much Priya's foundation work had become intertwined with their shared life. Our events team can handle the arrangements. Consider it our gift. As the evening progressed, Vikram found himself observing Priya. Across the room, she was laughing with Deepak and his wife, her face animated in a way that once would have seemed undignified by Malhotra standards. The rigid social mask she'd worn for years had been replaced by genuine expressions, sometimes pained, sometimes joyful, always real. Later, as guests departed, Priya joined him in the garden. Wrapping a shawl around her shoulders against the evening chill. Successful evening? He asked. Very. Though your mother would be horrified that we served street food alongside the gourmet catering, Vikram laughed. The panipuri was the highlight. Even Dr. Sharma had seconds. They sat together on the stone bench beneath the flowering jacaranda, a spot they'd claimed as their own during long evening conversations over recent months. I received an interesting proposal today, Priya said after a comfortable silence. The National Health Foundation wants our support group to develop into a formal nonprofit. They're offering seed funding and administrative support. That's fantastic, Vikram said, genuinely impressed. Will you accept? I'm considering it. It would mean more public visibility, though. My condition wouldn't remain private. The old Priya would have rejected the opportunity immediately, prioritizing appearances over passion. The old Vikram would have insisted she maintain the family's pristine public image. What do you want to do? He asked instead. She considered the question seriously. I want to help people who are suffering the way I did. The isolation nearly destroyed me. She looked at him directly. But it would affect you too. The great Vikram Malhotra, married to a chronically ill activist rather than a society hostess. I can't think of anything that would make me prouder, he said simply. Her eyes widened slightly. You've changed. We both have. He took her hand, a gesture that had become natural rather than performative. Perhaps we needed to break before we could rebuild properly. Above them, the Diwali lights twinkled against the darkening sky. From inside came the sounds of Lakshmi and the staff clearing away dishes. The comfortable domestic rhythm that had replaced the tense silence of their earlier years. I received a message from your father yesterday, Priya said tentatively. Vikram tensed. What did he want? To apologize in his way? He and your mother are returning next month. He asked if they could visit, and what did you say? Welcome, but on our terms. That our home operates differently now. She squeezed his hand. That we're different now, Vikram nodded, recognizing the courage such a response would have required from the woman who once trembled at his father's disapproval. There's something else, Priya continued, her voice softer. Dr. Sharma thinks we should consider the new treatment protocol. It's experimental, but showing promise for patients like me. Is it risky? All treatments have risks. But this one. She hesitated. This one might preserve some fertility options. The possibility hung between them, not a certainty, not even a likelihood, but a fragile hope neither had dared discuss. We don't have to decide about children, Vikram said carefully. That's not why I know. She smiled at him, the genuine smile that had become his anchor. But I want us to have choices based on what we want, not what my disease dictates. As darkness fell completely, they remained in the garden, two people who had entered marriage as strangers and were now, against all expectations, finding their way toward becoming true partners. Their path forward wasn't guaranteed. Priya's condition would always bring uncertainty. Family pressures wouldn't disappear overnight. Old habits would occasionally resurface, but sitting together beneath the Diwali lights, hands intertwined. They had already achieved something neither had thought possible. Freedom from the prison of expectations that had confined them both, not through dramatic revelations or grand gestures, but through the harder, quieter work of honest communication. In genuine acceptance? Happy Diwali, Vikram murmured, watching the lights reflect in her eyes. To new beginnings. And to finding freedom, Priya added softly. Together.